It stems from there being one seat at the table for females.
So they're like fighting for that one
Yeah,
seat.
a lot of them feel some scarcity. I don't feel that way. I think that there's enough space for everyone. And I think that having females, any minority actually, is going to make the voice richer.
What's up, gang? Welcome to season 2 of the Extraordinary Us podcast. I'm so excited to be recording again. We've been building a studio in my home. We're finally recording and I can feel it. I love it. Remember this, despite all our differences, we all are a lot more alike than we are different. No matter our circumstances, we are all just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. The purpose of this podcast is to share stories from people you may or may not have heard of to remind us of that fact. Also, I feel like many of us are kind of slowly bleeding out emotionally. The last year has exacerbated this and highlighted that fact. This podcast aims to elicit more compassion and less comparing to those around us and help us to be more emotionally whole. Mm-hmm. And today, I have someone super famous in the podcast booth, Susan Peterson from Freshly Picked.
I'm not famous.
The woman, the myth, the legend.
Oh, yeah.
She is here. Let me tell you a little bit about Susan in case you don't know, but I'm sure you do. Susan is an entrepreneur. She grew up in Washington State, which I did as well.
Mm-hmm.
What high school did you go to again?
Tri-Cities, Pasco.
Pasco.
And you were in Spokane, right?
Yeah. I know we played Kamiakin and Richland, but I don't remember playing Pasco. What's the mascot?
Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs, baby.
Yeah.
So Susan grew up in Washington State. She's had several entrepreneurial adventures that we're going to talk about. She has a beautiful husband and family, 2 children that I'm sure will come up. And we're going to talk a lot about Freshly Picked.
Yeah.
Which you've heard of. Everyone has heard of, because Susan Peterson is also like an expert at social media.
Oh.
Would you agree?
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't. So I want to learn from you about that. So we're going to talk about the ups and downs of entrepreneurship today, Freshly Picked, et cetera. So Susan, thank you so much again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's always good to see you. Do you like the new studio?
I love it. It's so it's beautiful.
What's crazy is if you would have seen this space like 3 months ago, by the way, we're like right under my bedroom in my house in this like weird crawl space. It was like, it's only 8 feet tall or so. But it was like just boards and like there was nothing here. So
it's such a good use of space. And it's cozy and it's cool. It's got I love the disco ball, the vibe.
Yeah, the disco ball. Yeah, we got to have it. Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you here. Tell me about entrepreneurship in your mind.
So many things.
Have you ever worked for anyone per se?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a ton. I didn't go to college. I lived in Vail, Colorado, and I was a snowboard bum and worked.
I didn't know that. So you're a big snowboarder.
Yeah, not so much anymore because my knees. I'm 42.
Did you used to like jump, like half pipe? And
I loved
tricks?
it. And there's nothing like a powder day. And so I worked there doing après. I was an après cocktail waitress. So we would work, a few hours a day.
Yeah.
And snowboarded and lived, and it was amazing and made so much money cocktail waitressing in Vail.
I bet.
Oh, it's so fun. It was just like such a fun time. And then moved out here to Utah after that, and actually was working for someone. My husband, Chris, was working at the same place.
Oh, okay. That's where you met Chris?
No, we went to high school together.
Oh, yes. I remember this now. Sorry. Did you guys date in high school?
No, we were just friends. And then we both ended up working at the same place in Salt Lake and got married. And I had a bunch of odd jobs. I always love, I love working for entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurship. I love businesses. I love figuring out how to make money. It's like my favorite thing about it.
You told me that when we last spoke. Like, I love making money.
Oh my gosh,
You weren't ashamed or shy of that. Like,
no,
not a lot of people will say that. Tell us more about that.
It's
That's
something
so
that I had to overcome.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't grow up thinking that. In fact, I grew up thinking money is the root of all evil.
So did I. Yeah, that's tough.
And but in Colorado, it's funny. I never talk about my time in Colorado, but it just came up.
Yep, that's where we're at.
I would make. you would work from probably like 1-ish to right before the dinner rush. So about 5.
Yeah.
So about 4 to 5 hours a day, depending. So right after lunch, right before dinner. And I was making between $500 to $700 a day.
Wow.
In just those few hours.
Just tips.
Yes, just tips. So you would get all the people as they're coming off the mountain, and in mountain towns, opry time is like it's really popular.
Yeah, it's the party time.
Yes.
Relax, unwind,
yes.
Be loose with your money time.
Exactly. So I was making so much money, and I could never replicate that. I remember my first time I was working, it was called Nutty Guys at the time, and I think it's changed names since. But I got my first paycheck, and I was like, what?
What is this?
What is this? I made more in 3 days than I did.
This isn't my paycheck?
Yes.
This can't be right.
No, exactly. And when my kids were first born, I was doing so many things to try to make money. Like I would go to the dollar store and get glow necklaces because you get 2 for $1.
Yeah.
And then I'd take them to like festivals and stuff, and I'd sell them for $2 a piece.
Wow.
And if you
like hustling.
All the time.
Always hustling.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, no school, like. And you said that kind of with pride, maybe. Did I miss? Like, was it like I'm never going to school? Was it just you didn't want to go to school? You didn't have money? I have no idea. Like, why no? Why do you say I didn't go to college?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I did a couple like stints, I guess you would say, where I'd try to do like a community college or something, and it just wasn't for me. And I think college isn't for everyone. Actually,
I totally agree. Yeah.
And I think that. I understand why we do our generals first, but I think that there should be more opportunities to jump right into like a field.
Yeah.
And I couldn't ever get past my generals. It was so boring to me.
Yeah.
So I never finished. I never got past I think I have like 14 credits total, maybe.
Dude, but what's cool is education is totally changing. I mean, one of the things, COVID's changed everything, and we'll talk a lot about that, but education is completely changing. Like our kids are growing up. Our kids actually go to the same school.
Yeah.
And they're growing up, and it's totally different. I have a son who's a junior, so he'll graduate next year. And it's like, what do you want to do? And it's not, my oldest son is about to start on his 4-year degree, but I don't know if my second son, like that's the right path for him. I don't think education is going to ever be the same as it was. And it's changing a ton, and it needs to change, right? We can't send the message as parents, I don't think, that like the only way to be successful is to get a degree, because that's not true.
No. And I would totally pay for my children to go do 4 years. I feel like I learned so much in Colorado, and I do feel like you need that proving time where you're kind of still under your parents' care and attention, but you can make big mistakes.
Yeah.
And, I would pay for something like that. I would pay for a gap year, no problem. Like I think kids still need a little bit of time to learn who they are. But whether it's at college or not at college, I think both are important.
Yep, I agree completely. So you met Chris at this next side hustle. You're selling glow necklaces. You were always doing stuff like
always,
that.
Yes.
Did that roll into Freshly Picked, or was there another entrepreneurial venture before that? Sorry, I don't recall.
No, I mean, not officially. I was hustling, doing a ton of stuff. I had Hattie, and I was pregnant with Gus, or actually maybe I wasn't pregnant yet, but Chris was in school, and I was feeling like super poor all the time. And I'm used to like having my own money and making my own stuff. And so I was over at one of our friends' house, and she had all this product out on her dining room table. I can't remember what it was, baby stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? That product that she had made. And she said, oh, I'm making stuff and selling it on Etsy. And I was like, well, I could do that.
Yeah. What year is this, by the way, rough?
Probably 2010, 2011.
So 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, sorry. Probably 2008. Yeah, 08, because Gus was born in 09. And so I just started making stuff and selling it on Etsy, and kind of just whatever.
What did you make? Like. Jewelry?
I know
you like rings, and you're wearing a bad girl ring right now. I see those. I like those.
No, I never got into jewelry, which I'm kind of mad about because jewelry is so easy to sell.
Yeah.
I was really into baby stuff. So I was like applique onesies. I made baby blankets. I made diaper bags, like just kind of.
And did you make those yourself? Like you made them, right? When you say you made them, you physically made them.
So I didn't know how to sew when I first started, but I convinced my mom to give me a sewing machine for my birthday.
Cool.
And then I just taught myself how to sew.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, thank goodness for the people who bought my first stuff, because I don't.
And hopefully they loved it.
Yeah. That was really sweet of them. But I was just making whatever. And then when my son Gus was born, I really wanted soft-soled baby shoes for him and couldn't find any that I wanted. So I made a pair and put them on my blog. Well, at the time, so my Etsy shop was pretty unsuccessful. And I had a friend that
fairly unsuccessful.
Pretty unsuccessful, yeah. I had a friend. I was making like $60 a week, which for me was great. Yeah. But I had a friend who a couple years before had said, "Everyone with a good Etsy shop has a good blog," and it was true because that was kind of the first social media thing. It was before people started marketing on Facebook, even.
Yeah.
So I had pretty unsuccessful Etsy shop, pretty unsuccessful blog.
Are blogs still a thing, by the way? Like,
yes.
Do you blog still?
Freshly picked blogs.
Okay.
But
I bet you that's not unsuccessful.
No, I was just actually looking at our Shopify, and we're one of the top blogs on the Shopify platform. So.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Okay. So then I made the shoes, put them on my blog, and just to that's what you would do is you would try to consistently post content. And, hey, I made these for my son. People were like, "I'll buy those."
Really?
There was 7 comments probably.
Everyone was like, "I will buy those."
Every single one of my readers.
Where do I send Bitcoin?
Exactly. So I was like, "Oh, I didn't even think." So I made 20 or so and put them in my Etsy shop, and they sold out within minutes.
Wow.
And that never happened to me before.
Wow. And this is for your son Gus. Like you were making them for him, and then you fell into this niche.
Well, I had told Christian, I really feel like if I find a product, because I'd seen a bunch of my friends on Etsy make a product that people really liked, then get big off that product. And I told my husband, I was like, I think if I found a product, I could make that work. And each time I made a product, I'd be like, I think this is it.
This is it, Chris. Hold on tight. This is it.
And I didn't even think that about the shoes.
Yeah.
And people loved them.
Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
What does that teach you about product marketing or product market fit? What do you take from that? You were trying to meet the market, and then you create something you needed, and that's what.
Well, what I learned from it, I think, is super personal, but I'm happy to share, which is that my taste for myself is better than my taste for other people. People liked what I was making for my son more than they liked what I was trying to make for other people. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Do you apply that still today?
I did a lot when I had babies.
Yeah.
Now Gus is 12, and every time I'll bring up stuff I was just in the product room, and she's like, "Okay, yeah, well, we're gonna have to survey that."
Like your last idea?
Yeah.
Who was she? Head of product?
Yeah, head of product. She goes,
"Okay, thanks, Susan."
She goes, "Well," and it's actually a good discipline within a product company where we can't go off of people's opinions. We need to actually survey it.
Yeah.
And I think it's smart. But she's right. I mean, I don't have babies at home. Actually, she's pregnant, and I'm so excited because every time you have someone who's just had a baby, your product gets so much stronger.
That's cool. So that was 10-ish years ago. When did you start surveying product, by the way?
Probably about 3-4 years ago.
Okay. So you were in it 5 or 6 years before you started surveying.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But if I were to start another company, I would try to get on surveying really quickly.
Right away.
Yeah. And it's hard to do as a 1-person show. And I can't get anywhere near the surveys because I mess up. I skew the results.
Yeah.
If I'm even in the same building, people, if I walk by and there's a focus group going on, they're like, "Susan, get out of here."
Yeah, because you're going to skew it towards,
Because people will say anything.
That Susan,
that they think I might like or something. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting. So it started with, Gus, pair of shoes for him. You made 20 or 30, and then where do you go from there? Because I know what year did you go on Shark Tank?
It filmed in 2013 and aired in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was that pretty, tell me, take me to Shark Tank or whatever.
Okay. So.
Or whatever you want.
No, that's actually, I have such a good story. This is
Yeah, you got to share it. Spill the
you know when
beans.
you're building something and something crazy happens and you're like,
Yes.
dang, that's a good story.
Yes. I do.
And so okay, so how I had the leather to make the shoes for Gus is at a yard sale, I think the summer before. I had
You're like one of those. Like you're going to yard sales and like buying leather and storing it for a year.
100%. Not anymore, but at the time, like I grew up going to yard sales.
Okay, cool.
So I was at a yard sale. I don't even remember what I bought, but I remember it was like at the end of the day, and the lady had like a leaf bag full of leather, and I was like, cool, I'll take this, and that scrap bag of leather for $1. And she was like, okay, fine. Because she's probably thinking like, either I sell it to this lady for $1 or I have to haul it to the DI. Yeah. So I had a bag of scrap leather that I made my first pair of moccasins off of. So my costs were nothing, you know? And then I eventually ran out of that bag of scrap leather. I think it was after my third or fourth like restock. And so I went to the local leather store to try to like get more leather. And I thought it worked like a fabric store. I thought you could get like a yard of something.
Yeah.
But
so you can't? I don't know.
No, you have to buy the whole cow.
You buy the whole cow?
That's what the lady told me. And I was...
Is that true?
This was my exact reaction. And she actually like took it and kind of flicked it out. And sure enough, you can see like legs and a belly.
No.
Yeah, like it's a full, and usually they're 40 to 60 square feet. So they're big. Like it's big cow leather. And I thought, so I asked her, I said, how much is a whole cow? And she said $200. And at the time it felt so
insurmountable.
Exactly. And I said, oh my gosh. And I just thought to myself, I don't know anyone that has an extra $200. So I went home pretty dejected. And then I called my brother who had a window installation business. And I was like, listen, give me all your old windows for a month, because when he takes them out, they're aluminum cased.
Yeah. And
you can bang the glass out and then take the aluminum to the scrap yard.
Oh my gosh. You did this?
Yes, for a full month.
No.
I did this. Yes.
I thought you were going to say you called your brother and said, give me $200 to buy a cow.
No. No, because then I'd have to pay him back.
Okay. So you said, give me your old scrap metal.
Yes.
So that I can scrap the aluminum for a month. To buy it.
To buy the cow.
Did it take you a month to get $200?
About, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I was banging glass out in my apartment.
And that's how you bought the cow?
Yeah. And
did you like reserve the cow? Like,
no.
Okay.
I just went back and got it.
Okay.
But it also, there was a couple good like lessons for me. That one was like, don't spend all your money before you need to buy more stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Because as the Etsy money was coming in, I was just like
shelling it out.
Yeah.
Making it rain.
Yeah. And
Susan
also
style, making it rain.
Also, I was only charging $20 for a pair of moccasins, which because my leather cost.
What were your cost of goods?
Well, up until then it was $1 of scrap leather.
Oh,
so I had no idea.
Okay.
And then I raised my prices after I bought the cow.
Yeah. Okay, good.
But mostly I raised my prices because I was getting annoyed when people would order.
Yeah, you're like, it's not worth my time.
Exactly. No, I really did.
That's a good way to price, right?
Yes.
As soon as it's like worth your time, then you're like, this is my price.
Yeah, that's how I ended on $60 baby shoes, actually.
This is a critical question. Like everyone's dying to know. How many moccasins can you make out of a cow?
Depending, it's about a pair per square foot.
Okay.
So 40 to 60 pairs depending.
Okay.
Yeah. And so from there.
Critical information.
Yes.
Always bringing you the most important and relevant information, listeners. Don't forget.
Exactly. After the scrap leather or the scrap windows and the leather, then things really started to take off for me because I started to figure out how to like price, sell, market, kind of do a bunch of stuff, and things were screaming. Also at the same time, I think the next year I had been at my friend's house and she was breastfeeding her baby and she was like scrolling on Instagram with one finger. Like if you guys can't see, but I'm like doing a one finger scroll.
Got it.
And I remember watching her going, oh my gosh, moms are going to be on Instagram because they need to be able to do stuff with one hand.
That's so interesting.
It was the only social media at the time that lent itself for that.
Got it.
So I was like, Instagram's going to be it. I'm going to put all my eggs in my Instagram basket. So I worked butt off that year to grow my Instagram because I wanted to have 10,000 because you get a K.
Oh yeah, the K. I don't know what that is, but that
well,
sounds
you
cool.
know, when you have like 9,000.
Oh, the K.
Yeah, you
10.
get a K.
Oh, the K.
Yeah.
Yep.
So at 10K, you got a K. And so I was like, I got to get the K. So I worked all year to get to the K. And my sales just kind of went with as much as I was growing my Instagram, my sales were growing at the same time.
That's so cool.
We also got featured in magazines. We got hooked up with the Kardashians. Like things were just like falling into place.
Are you and the Kardashians tight to this day? Do you party?
No, I don't know if they know who I am, but they're aware of my company.
Got it.
Yeah. And they ask for I don't know if they.
So you've never been on a yacht with Kanye?
No.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
But I
Because I can see you there. You should make like a Yeezy moccasin.
Well, Kanye's getting out of the Kardashians.
Okay, I'm sorry.
See, you don't
I'm
even
not
know.
really hot. I'm not up on pop culture. So like half the stuff I'm saying, I'm like making up. Seriously.
I love pop culture.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So then grew the business, grew my following at the same time. The next year we got our K at the end of the year. It was awesome. Hit that goal. And then the next year in May, in January, February, March, a bunch of people were saying, oh, you should go on Shark Tank. And I was like, isn't Shark Tank for inventors? I had no idea what the show was. Also, I didn't really understand how investments worked.
Yeah.
And so I watched.
Had you taken any money by this time? By the way?
No.
Okay.
So I watched a couple episodes and I was like, oh, this is for people like me. Yeah, I could do this. So I started reaching out to all my friends to say, who knows someone that's been on Shark Tank? Let me figure this out. And I knew that my scrap metal story was a genius story for Shark Tank. So I wrote it down. I wrote down my application, did all this stuff and didn't hear from them. Then we had a sell in May, my first sell ever. And I was like, we have now, things just kind of compounded after.
Got it. So you're saying like sale on product.
Yeah, discount.
Like discount sale.
Yes, discount. So things had compounded since we got into our K, and I think we had like 30,000 followers now, which was huge for Instagram. And at the time, and I was like, hey, we're just going to do 25% off. Never had put my product on sale. Never had put my product on sale. So we did 25% off. And the first day I was just kind of in shock because we sold.
Get crushed?
Well, it felt like so much at the time. We sold 2,000 pairs of moccasins.
Wow.
But we were doing a made to order at the time.
Oh.
And so it was
like I could put my kid's name on the moccasins? Sorry,
no. Like we didn't make the product until people ordered.
Oh, got it.
So we didn't have stock.
You had no stock. Yeah. None. It was like when you order, you make it. Okay.
Yeah. So I was just sitting there like, I thought I'd sell, I don't know, like a couple hundred pairs and we'd be like, oh, we're busy for a couple weeks. Yeah. No, we sold 2,000 pairs. And I remember just being like, what am I going to do? Yeah. Like, this is product I don't have the materials for. I really don't know how we're going to get it made.
So is this when the Shark Tank light blinked on? Like,
no.
Oh, I thought you were saying, okay.
Sort of like at the time I knew it. Well, the day of, no, I thought I was dead. I thought I just ruined my business. I remember I called my friend Noelle that night. You know Noelle Bates.
I do. Yep. You should call me.
Well, we weren't friends at the time.
We weren't?
No, this was prior to.
Okay.
And I called her and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I was crying actually. Yeah. I'm like, we just sold so many pairs and I don't know how to get them made or anything. And she like let me talk, I don't know, I think for like 20 or 30 minutes. And then she goes, okay, Susan, are you done?
Yeah.
And I was like,
she's going to give you a pep talk.
Oh, you know how Noelle talks. Yeah. So, and I was like, yeah. And like, just like, and she's like, boo effing who, except she said the real word.
Okay.
Susan.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard to be successful. A big crybaby. And I was like, what? And she's like, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I think I'm going to refund everyone's money. She's like, no, you're not. You're going to wake up tomorrow morning, get your big girl panties on. You're going to figure this shit out. And I was like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Right. So, I got up the next morning. I had one employee.
Isn't it so cool to have friends like that when you need it?
Yes.
Like, oh man.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah.
Yes. And she was so instrumental in the beginning for
That's
me.
Cool.
And so I got up the next morning. I had 2 employees. I sat them both down. I'm like, okay, we got to figure this out. And we just came up with a plan. And the first plan was, we're going to tell people, we're going to make our customers part of this, which was, we're going to tell people how this was way bigger than we expected. And we will get it out, but it might take us a little longer than we anticipated. And people were so cool. Like, just so excited to be part of the story. And at the time too, I remember thinking, okay, this is big. This feels pivotal. And I started like kind of recording stuff on my phone, like taking video, taking pictures, like just kind of keeping track. And then I don't remember, we made a video and we sent it into Shark Tank. Oh, and by the way, this just happened in our business.
So then they got interested.
Then they called us and they were like, hey, we want you to come on. We just filmed our first pod. You'll come on the second pod. And I filmed the last day of the last section, or the last like slot of the last day.
Wow. Were the sharks tired or were they like ready to
No,
go?
they were so cool.
Oh,
it was
cool.
so fun.
Yeah, tell. So for those of you who don't know, I mean, there are quite a few entrepreneurs in Utah. I think Utah really hits out of its weight class in terms of just Shark Tank participants or people to go on the show. I know that, you know, one of the investments I made, Fire Avert, Peter Thorpe, great entrepreneur, went on the show. It was a really interesting experience. I have my own Shark Tank story, but I won't tell that. What was it like for you? What was it like for you to be on Shark Tank? And was that helpful in the end? Or, you know, tell us a little bit about it for those that won't be on Shark Tank or for those that are thinking of trying to go on.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
First of all, I think the sharks are not going to, you have to know your company front to back.
Yeah.
And you have to, it is kind of scary because just like American Idol, the producers bring people on to fail.
Yeah.
And so
really
100%.
Huh.
Because you watch the show and you're like, how did this person get on? But like,
yeah.
So first and foremost, they're casting a show.
Yeah, they are.
They want winners, but you have to have variety in a show.
Yep.
And so I'd watched enough. In fact, I think I was on season 6. I watched all 5 seasons prior to that and wrote down every single question that they asked.
Wow.
So that I would be ready. And then,
oh my goodness, that's an enormous amount of work.
And then I answered the questions and then I made flashcards. So I had a flash.
No.
Yes, 100%.
You were testing. Gus was testing you, Chris.
Well, right. Because I was like, this is a show.
Oh,
so I'm going to script what I'm going to do. And so that I know I'm ready for any scenario.
And by the way, I watched it, but not for years. Did you feel like you nailed it? Like, how did you feel about, okay, you nailed
100%.
it. 100%. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I was, when the hair and makeup people were doing my hair, they're like, what do you want to look like? And I said, I want to look approachable. I want to look really understated. I just want to look like the mom next door.
Yeah.
And so I came in with a whole idea of, I understood the character they wanted me to play, but I also understood the twist in mine, which was that story of like banging the glass out of the windows.
Yeah. That's
the American dream.
Yeah. That's gold. Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole experience was wonderful. I had a great time. I felt like I did a good job. I ended up on this show striking a deal with Jon, and then post show we didn't close our deal.
Yeah. And
then it still aired.
Which is that's common.
Yeah, super common.
Yep.
And then it aired and I looked at my edit was incredible.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's just like no exposure like Shark Tank exposure.
Yeah. That's so cool. Hey guys, it's Jeff. Thank you so much for listening to the Extraordinary Us podcast. There's a lot of momentum behind the podcast right now, and we are so excited. I've got a special guest with me for a second here, my wife, Sally.
Hello, good to be here.
Why are you here, Sal?
We're starting a new podcast together, which I am super excited about. It is called Under Our Bed.
And we are literally people under our bed recording
We
right
are
now.
sitting right under our bed.
And if you want to hear more about why we called it Under Our Bed, tune in to our first episode, wherever you get your podcasts, because we're going to explain what it means. We hope to have candid and meaningful conversations together about issues that are relevant to you today.
Absolutely.
Good night, Sal.
Good night.
Susan's an unbelievable entrepreneur, but she's a lot more than that too. So I want to talk about that. So I'm going to speed up the story a little bit to now you're in Target. Like, I think the last big announcement, I'm going like 5 years ahead or whatever.
Actually, last week was our first full week in Target.
Okay. So anyways, tell me, and by the way, not everything's a high. So I have 2 more questions, which is, tell me about Target. Tell us about it. But then also, I know because I'm an entrepreneur, but I know also because I know you, it's not like it's straight up and to the right. There are some dark, heavy, like you're going to die days. And I want to hear about those or hear how you have overcome those. But tell us about Target.
So about a year and a half ago, we got approached by the Target. Well, they work through agencies. Every buyer has like a couple agencies that they work through. And we got approached by an agency that wanted to help us pitch to Target at the recommendation of the buyer. And so we, did a whole deck and created a ton of samples and laid out, I think now we're at a 3-year plan with them. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
Emojis, like high five, clapping, whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
It was a trip, man. Like getting product made in 2020 was not easy.
I bet.
And right now what you're facing as everyone's having trouble getting product from China.
Yep.
Because shipping's a nightmare right now.
Amen. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we weren't here a month ago in the podcast room. I couldn't get this equipment. Like, that's why, by the way, forgive me. That's why, and thank you for all your supportive messages, but that's why the podcast did not come out sooner. It's a nightmare to get anything. The supply chain has been totally disrupted.
Yeah. I mean, now they're back full-time. Factories are good, but the problem they're facing is there's so many boats that were stuck in harbor that there's no containers in China.
Yeah.
So it's still happening. And we had 2 containers on a ship that rolled, and the containers ended up in the bottom of the ocean. Like, yes, and we just barely found out.
Ships roll? I mean, I'm just saying, like, this happens.
It's super rare, but it's
like it just rolled over and containers went into the ocean.
Yeah, so they spent they spent time pulling containers out because they have the crane on the top of the ship. Oh. But our containers sunk.
Oh.
And
so where are they?
Somewhere we should go find in the China Sea.
Let's go to the China Sea. We should try to find them. How much inventory was that? And who eats that when like something like that
Luckily,
happens?
we had just got container insurance end of last year because we had a container from Mexico get lost in
transit.
Yeah, I have my own theories, but anyway.
Somehow it's not there.
Yeah, exactly. So we got container insurance, and so we're fully insured on our containers.
Who knew that container insurance was even a thing?
If you are bringing product across the sea, you need to get container insurance. 100%.
Stop all over. We'll just let that one go.
Well, they were frantically trying to pull stuff out of the water.
I bet.
And I'll show you a picture, but it was insane.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
so Target, I mean, you're unbelievable. You're a fantastic example to so many entrepreneurs in the state, male and female.
Thank you.
But that hasn't been painless. It hasn't all been just like making it, What's been some of the darkest days, and how have you overcome those? And what wisdom have you gained from that? One of the questions I like to ask my guests sometimes is just, how do you boil down life? What do you take from your 42 years of life experience so far? And so that's kind of what I'm looking for in this.
Man, that's a big question.
It is. This is a big podcast, Susan.
So some of I just recently started talking about this, but about 3 years ago, I found massive fraud within my company and me personally. The year before, I sold 60% of my shares in Freshly Picked and achieved like all my lifelong goals.
You're like on top.
Yeah, it was up like until that point. Day. Yes, and it was amazing. And I couldn't believe that, at like 38, I was there and it felt amazing and incredible. And then, 6 to 7 months later, found this fraud within my company. And not only was there a lot of money missing from the company, but there was a significant amount of money missing from my personal bank account as well.
Isn't that so heartbreaking? Like I've had several experiences like this. It like almost crushes your hope in humanity. I had an assistant that took money from me and the company, and like felt so like betray. It's hard to
Yeah.
felt so like violated.
Yeah.
This is someone you trust your like life with, I know.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I don't know. How did you overcome that?
It's called betrayal trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should have
So,
gone
yeah.
to therapy.
You should have.
I should have.
The betrayal hurt way worse than the money.
Yeah.
The money I don't care about. The money
Yeah.
I'll make again. I'm not worried about the money.
I feel the exact same way.
And I think like money comes and money goes, and we're stewards of money. We actually aren't owners of money. So the money wasn't as, at the time it felt really, and I can say that with hindsight, you know, in the moment it feels really hard, but the betrayal was where I really struggled, and that was the hard part for me.
So how did you overcome that? Not even just from a business, you know, we often feel betrayed as people, whether it's in a family or with friends or in a business like this. How did you overcome that? And how are you doing now? And what advice would you have for people that are dealing
lots
with
of therapy, lots of prayers,
Yeah.
lots of alone time for me. That was helpful for me.
Yeah.
Lots of talking, lots of reaching out. But forgiveness was like the main thing.
Yeah.
Like the night it happened, I remember talking to my investor and saying like, I don't know when I'm going to get there, but I know I have to forgive this person. Like I have to, otherwise it'll hurt me, you know? And so that was my number one goal actually going into it.
I love that. By the way, I ran into Susan a couple months ago at a school event with our kids.
Yes.
And she told me a little bit, and this is why I wanted to have you on, Susan, it was powerful when you told me, you were like, I've totally forgiven this person.
Mm-hmm. And
like, that felt so monumental to me, hard, but also just like so fresh and healing. And it was unbelievable. That's hard work.
It is a lot of work.
All of us need to forgive people for different things. What have you learned about forgiveness through the process? Like, you know, let's just make it personal. You know, I've had challenges with business partners or other people. Like, how do you forgive and get over that? When it's not about the money. It's about the personal betrayal and the hurt friendships or trust.
I mean, I think it's so personal, but I'll share.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, like
I'll
I know
share
you're
mine.
a religious person, by the way, and you don't.
Yeah,
you can share or
no.
not.
I'm happy to share. I'm just saying for everyone, I think it's super personal.
Yeah.
It's not that it's too personal for me to share. I'm happy to share. For me, it's realizing that I'm not perfect, and I need forgiveness in my life. And you know, I read so many things, but the story of in, I think it's the New Testament, because Jesus, it's parable in the New Testament, and we can put it in the show notes, the exact one where the servant is in debt to the king for a huge astronomical amount. And another servant is in debt to him for a tiny amount. And I think I've heard like it's like $600 versus $1 billion in like today's monetary value. And the king forgives super easily, and the servant won't forgive the servant for the little amount. And I put my the amount that was stolen from me through that. Like, okay, I'm in debt to Jesus for this amount, and this person's in debt to me for this amount. Yeah, I have to forgive.
Yeah. There's really no other option, right?
No.
I mean, and you know, that's from a spiritual, religious standpoint, which I think is very powerful, and I share a lot of the same thoughts. But even just from a practical standpoint, I think holding on to that venomous energy or that like is a canker or eats your soul. Do you know what I mean? Like you can become very bitter and embittered over these hard times. And it's really kind of hold on to it and get like bitter and worse, or let it go, find forgiveness and find healing and like moving forward. That's what I found.
Well, I would also do, so from a practical application too, I would do what I called throwing walks or throwing hikes.
Oh my gosh, I got to hear it. Sorry.
And so I would go, I love
this.
Rock Canyon. I don't know if you hike. I hike.
I do like hiking.
I love Rock Canyon. It's this hike in Utah that's like 15 minutes from both of our homes. And I would hike up there, and I would literally, like, I'm showing Jeff right now, I would like pull from my aura kind of like bad thoughts or like.
And like literally you'd be doing this.
Yeah, I'd be pulling stuff, and then I'd throw it at trees, and I'd say like, that's yours. I don't want it. And it felt like this like cleansing, like I'm getting rid of this stuff that doesn't serve me in my life.
Yeah.
And I would do that, you know, I do those like a couple times a week. It was constant practice of like, I'm going to forgive this person, because if I let up on it, my pride would get in the way. And it would say, you know, like, that person really hurt you. They took advantage of you. They did you wrong. And I was having to weigh also, like, I had just brought in an investor, so I had to be a good fiduciary, like,
with the investor,
with the investors. I'm like a steward over this money that they gave me that's now gone. So I had to, there was me personally forgiving, but then there was also timing within the business, and that had to happen a certain way. Yeah. Like, what I couldn't do for the investors and what they weren't going to let me do was say, okay, we're not going to charge this person, or we're not going to go to court for this person. Like, I also had to do a bunch of stuff, and it was a long process. I would say like 18 months it took me.
You had to do what was right by the investors and for the business.
For the business and for their money. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the hard things about taking on investment. It's good, can be good and bad. You look at an investor as a partner. The best investors are the best partners.
They're amazing.
I think yours has been good, right?
Incredible.
But you all of a sudden aren't just working for yourself as an entrepreneur. You've got, obviously you have your employees and you have them as you add them, but you also now have investors that you have a responsibility for. That's something that people don't think about. It does weigh heavy at times. It makes it hard. Let me ask one more question about this and then we'll move on, because I don't want to dwell on it. But do you still take these throwing hikes? Like, I don't know. It's hard to take 3 throwing hikes. Is that what they're called?
Throwing hikes, yeah.
Throwing hikes a week. That's hard. That's like, I don't know if that's sustainable. Like, how did you go over the hump? You know what I mean? Like when did you know things were better? Or was it just through working at it, throwing hikes for a year or whatever it was? And then one day you wake up and it's like, I'm over this, or, you know, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was exactly that. I was driving home one morning, and mornings are super, I don't know how you are with mornings. Mornings are sacred for me. They're like my time for myself. So whether I'm studying, going on a run, going for a walk, going to the temple, whatever it is, like, that's my time. Yeah. And I was driving home one morning and just like kind of caught off guard because it was gone. Like, all the hurt, all the pain, everything. I couldn't feel it anymore. And I got home and I was so excited. I told my husband, I'm like, it's gone. Like, I can't,
and it stayed gone.
It stayed gone. But also I think you have to move on with your life, and you have to, I've gotten really healthy at boundaries, and I've gotten really healthy at who I let into certain aspects of my life. And I'm really protective of some things and not protective of other things. And it's a practice. Yeah. Everything in life's a practice.
That's awesome. That's such good wisdom. And it stayed gone.
It's gone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Needless to say, you're an incredible entrepreneur. You're a female entrepreneur in a state, Utah, that doesn't always rank highly for female entrepreneurship, which is painful to me and to you. I know.
Yes.
How has that felt? You know, like, what has your experience been as a female entrepreneur? How can we get better? You know, things to work on, but also positive, you know, like hope for the future, and maybe specific things that people could look at or look to. I know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast. A lot of them are female. We both know several great female entrepreneurs. I know you're mentoring them. And like, so tell us about what's next and how you're helping and how you feel about that. That was like 6
There's
questions.
a lot. I think I got it. Okay. So as a female entrepreneur in Utah, I've experienced really bad, terrible things, and I've experienced really good things. And I think what you focus on is what becomes true. I play this game with my kids all the time, where when we're out driving, we'll pick a color like blue or purple and just see how many things of that color we can see. And I think it's true. And it's illustrative in the point that, like, hey, you're going to find what you look for, is my message to my kids. And I think the same thing is with anything in life. You're going to find what you look for. So I tend to focus on the positive because I always want to find positive things. So, with female entrepreneurship in Utah, it doesn't rank good. And I think there are a lot of really good people trying really hard to make it better. And I believe that we're moving in the right direction. I think that if I could give just like a blanket advice to everyone.
Yeah, like, what are the things that we could change? I'm saying as an ecosystem or as a community.
Think of females. Like, there's so many times that my male counterparts who are doing the same kind of business as me, that are kind of at the same stage of me, get asked to be on boards or invest all the time. And I'm never given those opportunities.
Or even on panels.
Yes.
Or what,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not just as a token female, like, happy to play that role if you need a token female. But like, I'm really smart and I have a lot to bring to the table. And think of the girls in your life as much as you think of the guys. The other thing is like, as you're making room for men to kind of come into a space, make room for women too. Kind of just like, I think though, the main thing that's going to change it is more female entrepreneurs, because then we're thinking of each other as well,
Amen. But I will say, not to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, but will say this, and I'm curious what you'd comment. Like, this is something that I've been thinking about and working on as a venture investor. And by the way, I have not been perfect at it, have not done a great job, but I've tried hard, and I've been aware of the last decade of this. But, and in my observation, Susan, like the female entrepreneur they're hard on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the females are the hardest on other females.
Yes.
This has been my
well,
observation.
and I'll tell you where it stems from.
Yeah, tell me why.
It stems from there being one seat at the table for females.
So they're like fighting for that one
seat. A lot of them feel some scarcity. I don't feel that way. I think that there's enough space for everyone. And I think that having females, any minority actually, is going to make the voice richer, and it's going to have like a better conversation. I think there is some female entrepreneurs who are that way, but I would say the majority are not. But again, I'm looking for the good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So what's next? How could we help you, and what's next? And maybe in line with, I know that you're reaching out and trying to help female entrepreneurs. Yeah. Anything that you'd like to share there, or that you're excited about, and how our community might be able to help?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that's been super important to me is to mentor new up and coming female entrepreneurs. I have at any time a handful of girls that I'm talking to, mentoring, helping. I have a couple of very formal relationships that I'm entering into. And actually this summer, I'm working with a team right now to build. Last summer I did a mentoring group, and this summer I'm going to do a mentoring group again, where people pay and come out for the weekend, and we're going to do.
So like a weekend retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this at?
It's going to happen here. I think we're going to do it in Lehigh. I need to talk to the Kiln people, but hey, Kiln people, you want to, I think we'll do it at Kiln.
Arian Lewis.
Arian, can we do it at Kiln in Lehigh? I think regardless of gender, most entrepreneurs get stuck at a bunch of places, and it centers around skills, systems, and processes that you need to implement once you learn the skills, and then mindset. And I'm really good at mindset, and I'm super good at skills, or whatever you need to learn. And if I'm not good, then I always bring in people who are good. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be like a super cool, rich experience. I haven't started posting about it yet, but I'm still like
putting it together.
Yeah, gathering the team and nailing down the details. Yeah.
Well, Susan, I think so much of you. I love your story. You're a smashing success. I can't believe you've done what you've done on like Instagram and social media. I just don't understand. I haven't spent enough time to understand it and be good at it. I'm not. And most of all, like I really, like you fought the good fight, and now you're looking back and trying to pull other ladies up with you. I admire that immensely. And I know there's been some ups and some downs, and you've fought through that, and I made it, and have made it. So, made it for now. We've never really arrived.
No,
right?
I think it's lonely and empty when you actually arrive. I don't plan on arriving anytime soon.
Amen. I agree. Any final thoughts? Anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to from the early days, from now? Any final advice, or No,
I think if I could impart anything, is like I would want people to feel confident, and I think anyone can do it. I hope when people hear my story, they think if this girl who like spent 4 years bumming around Colorado could do it, like I can do it.
Hey, sorry, we're extending. Can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
And this was really nice of you, Susan. Susan and I met a month ago or something here at my house, and we're just having lunch and talking. You sent me the kindest text. I shouldn't say this, but thank you. But you said, I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but you have a way of like helping people believe in themselves. I totally agree not with that. Sorry, I agree that that's so important. How does that happen? Like, how do I do that? Or how do you do that? How do mentors be really good mentors?
I think it probably comes from your investing days, but you're really good at asking questions that lead to like a better solution for someone. Yeah.
Like thought-provoking questions, which is kind of what I'm doing here in the podcast too, right? It's a little bit of a continuation. Well, Susan, like I said, I love your friendship, appreciate your friendship and your example. I can't wait to see what you do in the future.
Thanks, Jeff.
It's going to be awesome. Thanks for spending some time today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. It's always a party being with Susan Peterson, in my experience. It's always fun. I appreciate her personality, her vivaciousness for life, her positivity. It's a good time, and I appreciate being with her today. It was powerful to me when she spoke about forgiveness. We have all been wronged in our lives. We've all had people mistreat us. We all feel victims at times for different things. We need to learn to forgive. That is one of the most powerful lessons of life. Susan had a very harrowing and challenging experience in her business and personal life, and I could see it on her face. I've seen it when I've spoken to her before about it. She has forgiven, and that's been healing to her and to the person or people that may have wronged her. I love that part of the podcast. I also love when she spoke about skills, systems, and mindset. That's how she broke down entrepreneurship into skills, functional skills, systems that are set up by people with skills to maximize skills, by the way. I'm elaborating a little bit on this, but then it's overall a mindset. I totally agree with that. In the hundreds of entrepreneurs that I've invested in through the years, that mindset is so critical. It's kind of a killer mindset. It's a mindset to be able to smooth out life's ups and downs. Entrepreneurship is extraordinarily bumpy. So is life. We need to try our best to stay in the middle, to stay sane. We need to create support groups and systems, people around us that can help us do that. And lastly, this is the takeaway line for me from Susan. What you focus on becomes true. Let's make sure and focus on the good this week. That's what will become true.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Extraordinary Us podcast with Jeff Burningham. Please help us grow by leaving a rating and review and subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Also, tell your friends and share on social media. See you again next week.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Jeff.
And Sal.
I'm here with my wife. Why? Because we're starting a podcast together.
Yes, we are.
And it's called
Under Our Bed.
Why is it called that, Sally?
Because we are sitting under our bed right now.
We are.
In this podcast
Yes.
studio.
And we're going to be talking about things that are interesting, vulnerable, relevant.
Funny.
So check it out. Funny if you're on. So check it out wherever you get your podcast, wherever you listen to The Extraordinary Us. Look for Under Our Bed with Jeff and Sal.
Check it out.
Good night.
Good night.